Hey, my name's Christian, and for about 10 years of my life, I used to be very involved in the martial arts. I'm only saying this because whenever my father used to talk about me, he'd always say this one thing that I never really liked. He'd say, he's good because he's always thinking. He can solve a Rubik's Cube, and he thinks about his fights like that. Well, not exactly. My problem with that statement is that in those regards, a Rubik's Cube and a fight are actually two completely different things. I I know that sounds obvious, but I want to make the distinction that a fight is never always the same and that a Rubik's Cube is always solved with the same steps. It's exactly like having the same problem with the same solution every single time, unlike a fight where you're under the mercy of your opponent who you've never met in your life. There will be times when you can win a fight, and there will be times when you can't. Unlike a Rubik's Cube, where if you've solved it once, you can solve it again. But for now, let's say a Rubik's Cube and a fight are two of the same things, and let's throw in a different cube. This one here is called the Curvy Copter, and I want to use it to make a point. When I first got this cube, I spent hours just trying to figure out how it worked and how the pieces moved. I was thrown off by the fact that it didn't stay in the same shape and that it wasn't a face-turning puzzle like a Rubik's Cube. I was actually so thrown off by the puzzle that I didn't want to scramble it until I knew a little more about it. Eventually, though, I did end up scrambling it, and I almost immediately regretted that decision. It took me hours just to figure out a possible method, and then a few more hours attempting to execute that method, only to get stuck at the very end. This is where fighting comes into play. The method in solving the curvy copter actually involved looking at a Rubik's Cube and comparing them to each other. Although they were two different puzzles that turned in two different ways, I found that if I looked at the curvy copter as bottom, middle, top, like I do with a Rubik's Cube, I could probably solve it. And as you can see in the video, I solved the bottom layer with the red color, and I'm actually working on the middle layer. Eventually we'll see that the bottom will be completely red and that the sides touching the red face will have solid colors. This was actually the easier part because it was the part most similar to a Rubik's Cube's first two layers. When it comes to fights, and I'm not just talking about fist fights now, what I really mean are problems you have in life. So I guess I should say, when it comes to your problems, which are fights with life basically, you want to look at your past experience and how you've dealt with them. I know it sounds cliche, but it really is the easiest way to deal with any of your problems. If there's one way you've solved a problem and it's worked for you, or you've seen someone do something that has worked for them, look for a way to get that to work for anything you do. For example, my 10 years of martial arts experience has taught me that if I go along with what is thrown at me, the blow will be much lighter than if I resist. Now, that has helped me a lot with going through emotional issues and really has let me accept life for what it is. It has really worked well for me and it keeps me alive. The downfall with this state of mind, though, is that I rarely ever take action, which leaves me in a rut, basically. I want to succeed, but I won't let myself. So, real experiences can get you so far, but if you want to beat all your problems, you have to do a little more. And that brings me to my next part. At around now, I'll be finished with the first two layers of the cube, and we'll be working on finishing the last layer for the rest of the video. This is actually the most difficult part to figure out on my own, and it got me stuck with the method I was working on. The problem here is that with a Rubik's Cube, I used algorithms I learned from other people to finish the last layer, unlike the other two where I used logic. And because those algorithms were specific for a Rubik's Cube, I had to figure out my own for the curvy copter. Now, that was something completely new to me, and I had no idea how to get anything done. The thing here was that I didn't give up, and eventually I started seeing ways I could finally solve the puzzle. And I did. Which was awesome because finally I had conquered something that consumed my whole day. Now, what I want to say here is that, yeah, life gives you problems, but you can always look back at solutions you found in the past. And maybe they'll work for you, or maybe you can look onto others for their solutions and make that work for yourself. But there might be a time where all your resources are not enough and all you have left to work with is your persistency. Here I'd say never give up. But what I really want to say is always have faith in yourself and leave room for hope. I know this actually sounds like it's coming from nowhere. I spent half the video talking about how I solved the puzzle cube, and here I am talking about hope. But honestly, after that experience of figuring it all out, I felt confident that I could solve any puzzle that comes my way, and all because I had a sliver of faith in myself that one time. That's the confidence I want with life, but honestly, I'm not even there yet. But I started this project to get myself there, to inspire myself. Because inspiration is pretty much equal to hope. This is my version of not giving up and searching for a solution, so join me in Project Skip the Line and maybe we can find inspiration together and gain the confidence we need. Thank you. For more about Project Skip the Line, please check out the description and the video posted before this one. Bye.